Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for another Lunch and Learn, where we talk about anything proposal related to talent search and EOC. Any questions you may have. I might have some things I want to share with y'all. I also want to ask a favor of anybody who's out there, specifically in the EOC world there, if you all could put in the chat the contact information for the National EOC Association. I'd like to connect with them and possibly see if there's anything we can do to support that conference coming up. I think they have their conference in Chicago, well, every year before COE. So I don't know if they're still taking ads or anything like that. So anyway, just wanted to, if y'all could let us know in the chat. I have with me Teresa Thompson Pickney, Dr. Pickney, and I also have, there she is. She's here as well, and we also have Leah and Donna there. You won't see them, but everything you see has their stamp on it, so they're involved in every single thing we do. They're kind of like the Wizard of Oz is there over there making it all happen. Couldn't do anything without them. So thanks for joining us. At any time, you can put your questions in the Q&A. You can do that anonymously. If there's a question, or if we come across a question where I have to ask you 3 questions in order to give you the correct response, we might want to take it offline. We can have y'all email us and we can talk to you offline to answer those questions. You should be seeing on here the NEC shop. We're really excited about our our proposal writing WIC courses. We've already had some folks go through it and we're getting some great reviews. So please check that out. Those are the recordings of the sessions that we did live, but we've put them into a course structure where you can go through them and get also notes provided to you, and also to-do lists. There's quizzes at the end of every section just to kind of double check to make sure we're on the same page, so to speak. And it's really cool because you can stop, rewind, go back, keep going, or even, keep track of where you're at through a way you can tell, and we can also tell where you are in the process. But it's a different way of learning, where you don't have to sit there for 2 days. It's a lot. I know that we're exhausted after 1 day. 2 days of presenting, we're wiped out. I know it takes me a couple of days to recover from it. So I can only imagine those of you sitting there in the audience trying to absorb all this information, especially when the needs section, the budget section. So this way you can go back and kind of, as you work on each section, I think it's great to be working on your proposal section at the same time you're going through or reliving the proposal section. And it also gives you in the course, and it also gives you a really cool to-do list to check off. So it's just our way of trying to, a different way of presenting this information in bits and pieces, and where you can always go back and check that out. These are unallowable costs, just like right now we're talking during our lunch break, so that we're not using federal monies to try to get federal monies, okay? Because that is a no. It's an unallowable cost, just like these courses are. Okay, so if you have any questions about it, you could put your email in the chat, but you can go to our website, go to the NEC shop or courses, and you can go ahead and find out. There's a video there, and there's also some details about how it's set up, and the step-by-step, the online course, a little bit about the course, what's included, to-do list, discussion. Oh, that's the big deal too. This also gives you access to our discussion group. So anything comes up, you have a question, you want to talk to other folks taking the course, you can go ahead and put your question there. You also have our email addresses, so you can ask us for questions, and you have unlimited access until a submission deadline. You also get a certificate of completion and NEC course badge. I know there was some stuff I was forgetting. I should always just go back and read this. I can't remember anything anymore. And so this is how you can enroll now, and the instructors, and also our group discussion here. We've already got 15 members there. So that's one way we can communicate, and a different way of working on our proposals. Less structured, but also the same, somewhat structured, and also giving you access to the presenters in a different way than probably before, when you maybe didn't feel as comfortable popping up and asking during the live webinar. You can also go ahead and ask separately during this. And Donna, could you explain a little bit how, if someone has already out there registered for our live webinars that we did earlier in the, this year in the winter and spring, and how they can have access to this for no additional cost.
Yeah, if you attended a talent search or EOC proposal writing workshop this year, just you can email me and I'll send you a code for free access. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Just send me an email. Yeah.
It is. Could have said it too, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget something. So, yep, that's as easy as it is. If you've attended one already, to cut to the chase, email Donna and say, hey, I attended something live. It was a proposal writing workshop. We also have the professional development seminars, which are allowable costs. So, for example, we have the Veterans Upward Bound ready to go. Anyone out there who knows anyone who works for Veterans Upward Bound, this is the same setup, except it's an allowable cost. It's great for onboarding, great for annual training. You could break it out so you could have folks go through a specific workshop depending on your training schedule. So you could purchase this and then once a month focus on a particular area. And it pretty much covers all the top topics that would occur during a Priority 6 new directors training, except for everybody. I hate to call it new directors, Teresa, because it should be a refresh, a reminder. So even if you've been a director for a million years, I am still learning stuff every day that I didn't pick up on the regulations. The more I know about the regulations, what I can't do, the more I can figure out what I am allowed to do. So keep that in mind. We are working on the ones for the SSS will be ready pretty soon. Talent Search we just did. We're about to do Upward Bound. And so those will be something as a resource that is an allowable cost. And again, the same setup, people get badges for it. You can always ask us where everyone is during the process of going through all the courses. And provide you with that information. Additionally, the individuals that are going through can also see immediately where they're at through the process, and they get a badge and certificate of completion as well. So just putting it out there, and that's allowable cost, but the proposal writing ones are not. Okay, enough said about that. Now let's open it up to see if y'all have any questions. And did I stop the music or I need to stop the music?
It stopped. I don't hear it.
Okay. All right, great. All right. I never heard it, so y'all have to let me know. All right, so let's go ahead and open it up. Let's see if we have any questions. If y'all will let me know, do we have any questions? Otherwise, I don't know if we have a poll to find out who is who's here from EOC and Talent Search. If you could let us know. And also Teresa is, if you want to ask questions in the chat, and don't want me to address them live, you can, Teresa can answer them also as well in the chat or the Q&A. We prefer Q&A, honestly, but that's okay. And so we're looking at Talent Search, about 67%. Let's see how many here. Okay, EOC. Okay, great. Okay, same sort of setup. Ladies, do we have any questions right now?
I don't.
No, we don't have any. No.
Okay. Let me go ahead and do this and let's see if we have any in the meantime. What I wanted to do is share some things from the needs section. Let me start with, we do have EOC folks here. So let me start with EOC. There's a part of the EOC needs section. And can you all see this okay? The PDF? We cool? Okay. Not yet?
I'm still seeing the website.
Okay, let me see. Let me see, stop sharing. Again. Let's see here. How's that? I forget in Canva, I can move everywhere, but here I have to keep switching.
Yes.
See it now. Okay. So in working on EOC in the needs section, I've found lately that I need a lot of qualitative information or feedback from folks that are working and living in the target area. Right. So here's some sample support quotes that align with the EOC selection criteria. And just to give you an idea, I mean, you can, they could be paraphrased or cited directly in the proposal, provided that the position, title, organization, and date are included. So these specific examples or of quotes, I'm trying to get to support that there are barriers to post-secondary access and support for adult learners, disconnected youth, and underserved populations. So one of the things we have to show is that we have to have a need or there is a need for GED prep and testing support. So, and again, this is all made up, so don't be using, I mean, something like this. You know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to give you an example, a template. So what would be great if you get someone from the Adult Education Center, program manager, whoever, a teacher, to say something similar to this. You know, we serve hundreds of adults who never earned a high school diploma, but there's a limited access to GED prep, especially in Spanish or online. Many just give up. What about the knowledge, lack of knowledge of post-secondary pathways? So if you're stating that this is a need, you just can't state it and then you go ahead and write nationally there's a need and blah 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 blah. No, what's going on in your target area? So you have to tie it into your target area. So you need to get someone like from the Workforce Center to say, you know, most of the adults we serve don't realize that community college is an option, let alone how to apply or get financial aid. They think it's too late. So you see, we're going to have to use these folks that we deal with on a hopefully a regular basis to help identify, recruit, and select participants in order to get them to provide us with this local expert assessment of these issues, besides just writing them down and saying something like, if there's no, you know, studies have shown adults that do not have access, that doesn't tell me anything about your target area. So you see, everything is about how they say, like the FAFSA is overwhelming for our clients, or in here in this area, the adults we serve. It brings it very directly tied into the target area, and is also, I think, more compelling. I mean, you could always start with a little bit of a, according to studies, you know, students that have a lack of knowledge, or adults that have a lack of knowledge about post-secondary pathways end up, you know, having lower wage or whatever, and cite the research. But then you need to, what I think is better than having that, or in addition to that, end it with something tied into directly to the target area. Okay, I would not just say studies show that this is the case. And I'm like, what does that tell me about your target area? Unless you need to give me a connection that says something like, results are the same here in the target area according to, or this can be seen in the target area as well, according to Michael Yates, Workforce Center Development Specialist. Okay, I really think that in the past, we've gotten away with being able to say, this is a problem based on studies nationally, and this is what ends up happening to people nationally. But what is it going on locally? Okay, and then the support for formerly incarcerated or justice involved adults, you know, finding the person to speak to that if that's an issue, besides you just stating it, saying based on national surveys, and this is what happens to them. No, you want to get someone there to tell you services for disconnected youth, not in school, you know, and also, for example, support for adults in public housing or low income areas. Again, this is just an attempt to kind of get you started. Think about what kind of quotes you want to try to get in what areas. And these are all areas that would, I think, fit nicely into telling the reader about what the needs are specific to EOC that you can help with in your target area with, you know, because it's hard to get any hard data with percentages and charts about these issues in your target area. So we'll have to rely on the folks that are working with these clients that are experts of working with clients in the target area to speak for that. Teresa, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or if you have any ideas on how people can try to get that information from folks.
I'm sorry, I had stepped away, but I don't have anything to add. No.
Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for Talent Search. And so again, this is just a sample set of support quotes. And again, they're great if you can use a position title. You don't have to actually use, I mean, these people were cool with their name. Sometimes people have said, well, can you just use my position? That's fine. It's preferable to have it like this. And it could be set up like this. See how it's in quotes and this, and there's a little bit of information. I mean, we don't have a lot of room, but I think this will make, I know as a reader, if I'm reading this, I will enjoy it more. It'll be more interesting. And also it'll tell me that they really did their work talking to people in the community instead of citing a lot of national stuff that really could have some connection to the target area, but it's not making the connection for me. So you need to make the connection, okay? Let me share some for Talent Search, okay? And I will upload these documents into the Google Drive. There's a folder for Talent Search and there's one for EOC. And there's one of our questions, question number 6. And you all can see this, right? It's still in PDF. I just switched over, right? We're okay? You all can see the Talent Search
Yes.
one? Okay, great, thank you. So in the last question for Talent Search, and like I do not think there are going to be any changes. I don't think. I don't know, Teresa, if you heard anything. I don't think they're going to have time to. But anyway, if it stays exactly the same, the last part of section of question number 6 has the mention of, you know, what's going on with socioeconomic, what are the socioeconomic problems of foster care youth and homeless children and youth in the question itself. So you can't ignore it. If you ignore it simply because you don't have a lot of them at your target schools and think you can, for the rest of that question 6 that has 3 other parts, go really heavy on that, I'm specifically going to be looking at, are you addressing or even talking about anything to do with the last part of the question? Because I could take points off because the applicant did not address the socioeconomic problems of foster care youth or homeless children and youth, no matter how beautiful the rest of the question is. So this is something you need to start thinking about, and also finding out who you need to talk to there at the target school or in the target school area. And let's break down possibly some socioeconomic problems of foster care youth first to bring up. So here's a listing of some common socioeconomic problems that are, it could be specific to any child, right? But in the sense of this, you know, trying to answer this question specifically for foster care youth, this is the barrier, and this is kind of the reason for it, like educational instability, frequent changes in schools due to placement changes, difficulty accumulating necessary credits for graduation, and lack of access to academic records during transitions. Okay, and so on. So here's just something here to get you started on not that you have to mention all these, but if you could find someone who works with foster care youth in your target area, and even if, you know, maybe we don't know who they are right now, and I guess I don't know if that's good or bad that they, I mean, I guess it's in a way good that they aren't, you know, they're not easily identified, perhaps because they can blend in more, but at the same time, we need to address it. So even if you, I would not stress or mention that there's just a few, but if the few that you know are there at the target schools, then you need to get someone to speak to, well, you know what, this is a list, and just be for real with them. This be a list of what we think are pulled up at that nationally through studies have been, you know, problems specific or especially for foster care youth. Could you help me by identifying if any of these you've experienced or seen personally, professionally, in your capacity here as someone who's involved with working with foster care youth? So in any one of these bullets here, could you provide me with a quote to back that up? Okay. The same thing with the second part of that last question, part of the question of number 6 in the needs section, the socioeconomic problems of homeless children and youth. Again, I'm not saying that all these things have to be addressed, but maybe one or two, if it's appropriate for your target area. And not only does it give the reader, this is what the problem is that we found, the label, and a little bit about, you know, what it could cause, or the rationale, I guess, for it. But then it must be solidified or linked to someone there at the target schools or target area saying, I agree, and give you a quote. Okay. And Teresa, I know you've done work before with and their students. You have a particular term I can never remember. They're not aging out. Experienced foster care. How does that go?
Yeah, it's students or youth experiencing homelessness. So it's really about their experience and not really who they are. So
Mhm.
that's kind of like a terminology. I would just say take a look at some of the more politically correct conversations that are going on out there when you're communicating. I don't know that you know, it doesn't reflect you negatively, but it does help for our industry of Trio to know what the language is and the lingo is.
Mhm.
Also, I wanted to add for the homeless students who are experiencing homelessness, there's a element there where there's a national, and it may already be in your data list that you provide, but there is it's called point in time. And so annually, one night in January, it usually occurs in January, there is data that takes data gathering that takes place for those that are experiencing homelessness, where people are out in the field that particular night gathering data on the situation related to homelessness and those who are experiencing it. And so you can, a lot of times, you may be able to get some state data, you may even be able to get some local data, and a lot of local organizations have that information. So you can just Google point in time, and basically, you may be able to find some data points for your local area and what's going on in your area as it relates to homelessness. And this survey happens every year.
Great. No, I don't think we have that, Teresa. So that's really great information. So y'all, that was point in time. And I don't know if you want to put that in the chat for folks to,
Okay, I will.
and I wrote it down as a reminder to look that up. Really good
Okay.
information. That's tough. And if that's going on, again, the questions in the needs section, they must be addressed, even if people say, well, we don't really have a problem with that. I don't care if you have one student in the foster care system or, or going through that, or one student who's homeless. I know we have more, but you need to talk about the barriers and issues that one student has, and not worry about, well, I don't have a large population. That's not what it's about. It's about, tell us about what their barriers that they have, because that's what the question's asking for. We have to. I'm seeing more and more, Teresa, with the responses and the readers' comments on SSS, how they really were like literal, that wasn't mentioned. It says and or. Over here, you said 25%. Over here, it says 26%. I mean, just really stuff like that. So I can only imagine how on some of these quotes, if they say, well, this is not, this is, there's no source. Well, my people are the source, the folks that work there. So I want to make sure that I have some information linked to them. So it's not just me saying it, it's as the writer, it's almost like when you write these proposals, you're almost like a reporter, and you can't put words or make an assessment. It's not an editorial. So you must have other people speak for you. If you want to say, well, this is a problem, I know it's a problem in the target area, we need to find someone there who's a teacher, a service provider, to basically end up saying that for you, because we just can't put it there and leave it open-ended like that, because I always look at it and say, says who? You just said there's a high rate of homeless youth, and they experience the following issues, bam, bam, bam. According to who? You need to tie it into someone. So we have a question here. Thanks, Teresa. As for the questions in the needs section, can you provide clarity for data selection? We alternate between using state or national data, depending on which better supports our case. And this varies by the question, correct? When our local statistics are worse than both benchmarks, should we include both comparisons, or stick with the one we use most consistently? I'm concerned that including both in some tables may give the impression that our local data is often better than the national data. You know what? I would, if I were reading it, I would say, yep, I bet that's the issue, but you're showing need. You're showing need. If you were to be consistent, you would probably show less need, I'm guessing, right? The only reason you're doing this in a perfect world, data collection, I would love it if my target schools were doing worse than state and national data across the board. And that's what I would put across the board. But it doesn't work out that way, does it? Because these are different, that criteria is coming from different areas, different timing. Yeah. Well, I'm just letting you know. And that's why I always put at the bottom of every table, this is the latest. I go ahead. So yes, I tried to use, and sometimes the years are off. So sometimes people worry about, well, I've got one data source that's dated this year, and then the state one is dated this year, and then the national one is dated differently. That's why you always state at the bottom of your table that this is the latest available data for each comparison area. Okay, to ease that if you're worried. And I always put the date that it was pulled, not just the date that it's covering, but the date that I accessed or retrieved that information as well, as clearly stated. If you were to be back to your original question, and I'll ask Teresa also to speak to this, if you were to play it completely consistent, you could possibly lose points for not showing need. So I'm with you. I go ahead and use the compare. I almost look at each question independently, because Teresa, they'll be judged independently. I'll be looking at your graduation rate. I've yet to see someone say, but over there and this other question, I haven't seen that yet. It could happen, but I would look at that table itself and say, okay, they're showing a need here. They showed me, if I'm doing worse than 3 areas, I'll put all 3 areas. If I'm just doing worse than 1 area, then I'll put that 1 area. So I vary it too, Diane, from table to table. Also, when space, believe it or not, we could be so close on space that I'm like, oh gosh, if I take out those 2 rows, it'll make a big difference. I'm doing better than the 1 area. So do I need to show the comparison to those other 2 areas? I don't need to. I need the space so I can take that off. But yeah, I mean, this is what you have to do. Go back and forth and just be very clear about, this is the latest available data for each comparison source and when you retrieved it. And Teresa, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but if you were to be for real, you might be all over the place and lose points anyway.
Yeah, I agree, Lisa. So, especially when I'm writing, there was a time when you could do that many, many years ago. A lot of the data could have been consistent depending upon what community you lived in and what area, geographic area. But post-pandemic, it's really a lot of the programs that I work with, it's all over the place just because you have to get the data and information. It may not be 2024, it may be 2023, but you're just trying to respond to the question and you're trying to make sure that you fall within the years that the U.S. Department of Ed is allowing for you to pull data, or that allowing for you to pull data for and making it relevant. So the most recent data available, I attended all Lisa's workshops when I was a director in Trio. So pretty much what she does is consistent with what I've done with others that I work with as well.
And so far it's worked for us so far,
Yeah.
but it is, but I would know if I read your proposal, I would pick it up. And so would Teresa, because we're writers. We'd be like, hey, Diane, we do the same thing. Good for you. I would have done the same thing. So I don't know if they could actually stand or defend saying, well, I think you're giving me the impression that your local data is better than the national average. I'm like, that would be maybe a little bit harder for them to justify that, but I would pick it up, but I wouldn't be taking points away from you. I'd be saying, good job, Diane, because you made it easier for me as a reader, because I can say, hey, they're showing a need. They're showing a need right there. So I would appreciate it, but I would know what the deal was, but I wouldn't penalize you for it. Okay, so we're going through the same thing. Okay, same thing. We have another question here. I'm now getting to where I have too many students wanting to join us. What? That's an awesome problem to have. I already have a wait list. Well, good for you. That's great. Would it do any good to increase our funded to serve numbers for the new grant, since it will be level funding? Let me tell you, even if you wanted to, you couldn't. You're locked in right now. The only way you could serve more students is to write a second grant for and also for not for the same target schools. You'd have to end up splitting later on. I mean, if it's going on like that, like we did in Fort Worth, we ended up with 3 talent search programs in the city of Fort Worth. 1 was not enough. I think we have more than that with other agencies and universities, but we started off with 1, and then we wrote additional ones because we had enough students to go around. But on your 1 existing grant, you're locked in. You won't be able to ask for any more money, and you won't be able to serve any additional students. Okay, so think about that. All right, so that's an easy answer. I mean, could you? Nope, you cannot. And Teresa, let me know if you heard of anything different, but I know if you ask for any more money to serve any more students, that's a reason not to even get read. Should we update the data since the new American Community Survey is released in September? Well, you should, as much as you can, try to get updated information. Yes. So if the new numbers, and we've been telling our clients right now, since it's not September, we've been going off the latest available data. And yeah, some people have said, well, why don't I just wait, until September? I said, no, we want to do a test run. We want to see what we have to work with. And it's been very helpful for those folks that have already started running the data collection, because they already see the issues that are coming up with getting the data, rather than waiting. So even though they're going to have to update it, they've already gone through a trial run, like a mock, run as though it was going to be the real data. And so now they know what they need to do differently to make it faster to get, or, not only where to get the data, but how to study it. And hopefully for some of our clients, it's already showing a need. So we hope that when they run the numbers again in September, that need will continue or show a bigger gap. And we've got other clients where they're hoping that the most recent available data is going to show more need, because right now what they have isn't showing enough need. All right. So Teresa, I don't know if you want to address that, but definitely you want to check that out, right?
No, I definitely agree. Definitely agree.
Okay, you want to check that out. So, don't wait, start pulling that data now. I mean, the budget is going to take you 5 minutes to do because there's no money in it. Okay, that's going to be all your personnel, all your fringe. Don't feel bad if you don't got any trips planned. Don't feel bad if you have tons of training. Don't feel bad if you have no money for consultants. Talent Search and EOC, all your money is in making sure you have enough staff as you can support with the fringe that you can support, because it's a very people-driven program. Unlike Upward Bound, we don't need supplies, instructional supplies, food, money, those things we're not are mandatory, as they are with Upward Bound. So we need more funding for that. But we are out there providing information out in the community. So these budgets, if they're making you nervous, it's everyone else is in the same boat. No one should be dripping in any extra money unless the directors are split. But then that's tough. Then that's more work that the advisors have to do, because then they've got to identify, recruit, and select students, clients as well. And EOC and Talent Search, it's a massive, massive undertaking, but can be done, of course. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Okay. Yes, for those of you, some of y'all, Leticia and my friend Maria Elena, have taken the courses, and so or started to take our online courses. So they seem to like it, and if they like it, that's good for me. I love knowing that they're enjoying those. Here's another one. What's the best way to present target school graduation rates if the state database is slow to update? Again, you just have to go by whatever is the latest available data and state that this is the latest available data for this target area or for this comparison data, and put the date that you checked it, like today's date, you double checked it, and keep double checking it. Sometimes it's the very end, you can update it. So it could show that if, this was checked or last retrieved, could have been 3 days before the proposal was submitted, even though the timing of the data didn't change. That's the best way, I think, to present it under the tables. Make sure that you state that this is the latest available data for each comparison area and the date that it was retrieved, and keep refreshing or keep checking to make sure that's the latest date. We have another one. There's my friend Cindy. What can we do to report graduation rates if our district has a pass on policy or no one is retained? So Teresa, I saw Teresa's eyes. Yeah. This is going to impact your persistence objective. It looks like I'm assuming that means that if they're letting students graduate with whatever, I guess they're letting them go on to the next grade level without really having enough credits, or with actually, earning the right to go on to the next grade level. And that's greatly going to impact your need, because right now what I'm seeing or hearing that you probably would say is like, well, right now they say 100% of the kids are going on from one grade level to the next grade level, and 100% of our kids graduate. So there's no need. So one of the things we're working on with some of our clients is, it's a Hail Mary. I don't know if Teresa's got any ideas, but when we're in a situation like that, we start adding in another layer of rigor to it, meaning that we start saying, well, you know what? We're going to come up with our own definition, because we had nothing to lose. because right now, if we say 100% of the students are graduating and 100% of the students are going on to the next grade level, game over. That is how many points? I think there's 4 points for each. 8 points. Okay. So rather than just give up the 8 points, I'm going to do a Hail Mary. And sometimes it works. And that's when I go ahead and state and try it. It's not pretty. It may work, it may not work. It may give you some points, partial credit. And at this point, I'd be excited to get that, is to add on for the persistence, that the definition is under the box definition, students that complete one grade level and go on to the next grade level with a GPA of 2.5 or 2.75. And then we do the same thing with the regular graduation. What percentage of those seniors graduated maybe with a 2.75 GPA? I know it's not said anywhere in our objectives, right? Or anywhere in the regulations, and it doesn't say that in the question, but I have no choice. I'm in a corner here that I can't get out of. And that's the only thing I could possibly think of, is adding an additional layer and stating that. Now, if I do that, then it should be, and if we get partial credit and maybe we don't go down in flames completely, then that's my baseline for the objectives. So I should be using that same definition on my APR when I see if we've met that objective or not. It should work out. If I used it to show need and get some points, I should use it once a year to hold myself accountable to see if we've met those objectives. Teresa, I don't know if you speak to that, if you have any other ideas on how they can do this.
Yeah, the only other thing is just creatively, in addition to what Lisa said, creatively speaking to graduation doesn't mean competency. It doesn't, because you have your testing scores and things of that sort. But there's really not that much more you can do outside of go a little bit deeper in explaining, that just because one graduates does not mean that they're graduate ready, or competent in the areas to help them be successful in life, or even college per se, because that's who we're preparing the students to go to college. So I can't think of anything further than that.
And what Teresa's saying, right? You when you speak or you state, just because, or this is an issue, tell me about that problem, but then you've got to tie it into someone saying that. You know what I'm saying? As a writer, you
Yes.
can't leave it alone. You're gonna have to say, according to target school counselors, it could even be according to talent search project advisors that have worked here for several years. They've seen the following trend where students are getting promoted to the next grade level without really earning the credits. And so that's, even though it's even one of your own staff members, coming from them is a lot better than just leaving it. This is because blah, 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 blah. Says who? It needs to be somebody. Now, I would prefer it be somebody at the target school, or someone that works in the community, or a school board member, or a teacher, that would be great. But it would, that reasoning alone would still not, on its own, would still not give you any points, because they're going to be looking at the numbers. So you still have to, like Teresa said, it's got to be both. You got to go do a Hail Mary and add on another layer of rigor that the schools would have to be willing to let you know the GPAs overall, not individually, but of all these students that went, how many will, you say 100% went on to the next grade level. Okay, what if I tell you, I just want to know what percentage of them went on to the next grade level with a 2.75. That's a different response. You're not going to get 100%. The same thing with the seniors. Okay. I know it's a Hail Mary, but then tie it into what Teresa said about, well, mention that, students are still getting promoted without really earning it. And this is why, or this is a problem according to X, Y, and Z. Okay. So it's everybody though. I mean, Cindy, it's not just you. We're with all our clients, we are struggling with the to show need in persistence and regular graduation. I hate those questions. I don't think they're fair to ask. Well, life's not fair, but it's like, first of all, it's just tough because nowadays it made sense to ask that years ago, but nowadays the way the schools are just promoting everybody, it's no need. You know, we don't mind it when we do our APR, right, Teresa? Because we love those too. Well, they're like freebies. Because we turn into somebody else when we're doing our APR and we go, oh, we target schools. Yeah, everyone graduates. Yay, we met that objective. Once every 5 years, when we start to write this and show a need, we're like, oh my God, they're letting anyone graduate. All of a sudden, it's not fun anymore. You know, it's not like, it's like, oh, this is not helping us. This is really, we're struggling. And yes, Cindy, seniors with less than a 1-point GPA and they have a credit recovery system, so they get enough credits to technically graduate. Exactly. What if you remove that? What do you said? Look, I just want to know, exclude the people that get to pass with less than a 1.0. You know, I'm giving you my own, basically, very nicely, my own standards. You've got to implement those. And people say, well, what if they say, well, you can't do that. You can't add it. It doesn't ask for that. I said, I know it, but if you left it alone, you'd lose 8 points. This way, I might actually squeak by with, you know, half points. And that can make a difference if I'm existing. If I'm going for brand new funding, yeah, I'm dead on arrival. I can't lose a single point. But who knows, I might get, and the readers are kinder to the new grants than they are to the older grants. I might squeak by with a reader. They'll go, oh, okay, wow, I noticed that. And, you know, I might get full points. But if I don't do anything at all and just put 100%, 100%, 100%, it's over. Or at least I'm going to lose 8 points, and I better have enough. If I'm existing, I better have enough prior experience points to offset that, because the cutoff for SSS was, you know, a perfect, higher than a perfect score. If you were newly funded, you had to have some prior experience points. You got to give it a shot, Cindy. You have nothing to lose. Because if you leave it alone and don't do anything, 8 points off the top. This way you can kind of save it. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see here in the chat. Any budget questions? You know, we were going to have no money level extra money. So your budget, you should be able to do real quick. If our target area has seen a recent economic downturn, but the census data hasn't caught up, can we still use some more current local data? Yes, you definitely can. You can definitely say, you could, just like you said, you know, the latest available census data does not display or describe the recent economic downturn, which will be better explained or cited or documented by using XYZ data. So definitely you want to go ahead and do that. And you might want to give the reader a little bit of explanation as to why maybe you're using something that other than census data information. Okay. But that would be great. And to pull, and as long as you can cite it and put a date to it when you retrieved it. In fact, the RFP double checked me, but I don't think it ever says you must use census data. Now, we write some proposals where they say you have to go to this page and this link and use data from here. We just naturally gravitate to the census, but it's like you said, sometimes the census doesn't show. Now, if it's showing need, I leave it alone. But if it's not showing need at all, but more updated information can, like, remember, we're talking about number of households, number of low-income households, and the number of individuals in the target area that do not have a bachelor's degree are the two main data points that we usually bring up in the needs section. So if you've got local data that shows it's more of a need, then go for it. Just cite it, okay? And a little explanation letting them know, and that would be reasonable. It's like, okay, they have more updated information. Okay, let's see here. Needs section progress. We're talking about the needs section here, y'all. Some are just starting. Are you halfway there, almost done? Maybe you already submitted a draft for review. That's great. You know, they say no later than December 1st is when the recommendation is. Recommendation. This is not set in stone, but that's what the recommendation was to the department or that they go ahead and have these the RFPs or the program applications out no later than December 1st. Recommendation. That means it could happen before that. That means a recommendation could happen after that, but at least they're talking about it, y'all. So that's a plus. Instead of not even mentioning it, I feel a little bit better knowing that they're at least talking about it, but it's a recommendation. So we've kind of shifted our timelines to, if you look in the Google Drive, or we actually didn't, we updated them from one time before, and it seems to work out just in time if, if it's out a little bit before December 1st. We'll update those once we get more concrete information, but everything is just up in the air right now, although they are talking about it, so that's positive. You want to check our Google Drive out, I'll have those 2 documents I mentioned earlier uploaded in there. Let's see, we have another question. Are subscription-based software tools allowable if we can show they directly support participant services? Yes, they definitely are. In the regulations for both Talent Search and EOC, they're actually cited as, not by name, obviously, but any materials, supplies that support participant services, and also for record keeping as well. So anything for your project, your database, but definitely for tutoring services, for GED, for like in Talent Search, really the online tutoring probably is where I have a little bit of money left. Those are all, yes, allowable costs. Okay. They are definitely. Look in the Talent Search and EOC regulations under allowable costs. They're covered there. Okay. And when you talk about it in your budget narrative, you could use that same language there, that these under supplies, these tools, these online subscription based, or possibly under other category, are allowable because they directly support the tutoring services or the delivery of college, career, and financial aid information, or for EOC, they directly provide GED services. So you might want to spell it out for them just to double check. Right, so let's see here. Any other questions? We've got about 10 minutes left. For those of you that are out there, you could always put your question. Any updated news on the continuation letters? Yeah, I wish, right? And we're talking about the GAN, the GAN. There was a meeting last week. I think I uploaded the slide deck. If not, I will do that. I'll make another point of the COE, what they shared. Anybody out there would like that? I can put that in the Google Drive, but they really didn't have, from what I gathered from that meeting, it was, we're going to communicate, or we need to communicate with our elected officials to find out when, to kind of put the pressure on for them to try to find out when are we going to get these letters. You have to be, you want to make sure there's a certain way to do it. And that COE slide deck was pretty good about how to go about doing it. So there's a way to ask without, crossing the line and being political, because we don't have to use that. So we do have a valid reason, right? Because we need to find out if we've got when those GANs are coming, the grant award notification. And I bet your business office is breathing down your neck right now, trying to get those so they can establish new accounts for the next year. So you should be, or someone at your institution, if not you, should be communicating frequently with your representative's office to see if they've heard anything, or if they can put the pressure on to get those out. I know in the past, when I've looked and asked and talked to people, by this time we should have already received our grant award notifications, Teresa, from what I can remember. So it is, unnerving, so to speak, to not have those letters yet, right? I know they're coming, but are they going to come soon enough? And there is also a possibility of some folks not getting it for cancellation reasons, like that would happen with SSS, just keeping it real. Not that I've heard anything or understand anything, but it is very, not knowing when those are coming. They're right now, they're just a little bit late. And I'm hopeful that we'll get something hopefully in the next week or so. We need to, right? Teresa, I don't know what they would do at your campus, or you all need to start talking to the right people on campus to see if the funding wise, if they're okay with how much you have left to kind of continue until your grant award notifications come in.
Oh, yeah, definitely on campus, college campuses, definitely your business office, but even more importantly, HR. Is an important one right now, and your supervisor, just the chain of command, I guess, just kind of being aware and understanding what your options may be. Now, there was an option that, some institutions don't really do, that's furloughs. So, I mean, that may be one that you try to pitch so that everybody's not laid off, and then you're trying to start from scratch when you get if you get the award the day before the first. So that's a newer one. I mean, that was not an option at my institution, but definitely something. If I were there now, I would be trying to pitch more of that than anything else.
Can you put that in the chat, that terminology that you mentioned? And
Okay.
that's where you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, right? Go through the steps of, look, we have to follow procedures, and because we don't have anything in hand, like an award letter, just like students say, I don't have your financial aid award. I heard you're going to get financial aid, but I don't have it in my hand. I can't establish an account. So let's do these steps. But should we find out, the minute we find out we have the GAN, then we'll kind of reverse everything and everything goes back to normal, Teresa, in that case.
Right, because the furlough is, again, this is newer for me, but something I never thought of is, where you're
Pause.
temporary laid off, is you're paused.
Mhm.
So you're still employed up until the 31st. And then if you've not gotten the award, then at that time, um, the process of whatever termination would happen on the first versus the 30. I'm sorry, on the first versus the 31st.
So find out, y'all. I mean, now, I mean, I know you probably hate to even bring it up, right? But you don't want to ask the day before. You want to start kind of finding out, what if we don't get this for another week? Can we do a furlough? Is that a possibility because of this unique situation? Put a pause on the cause, basically. And then the minute we get that GAN, this is something EOC has gone through before. Teresa, the last time they got funded, they didn't get their award letters until the end of September. And so a lot of them were living off of carryover or one cost extension. Well, there's no carryover. It would have been all one-time cost extensions that they were living off of. And so it's not unusual to happen to EOC. It is a little unusual for Talent Search to be caught on it, but poor EOC always gets dumped on it. EOC has had that issue before. And for those of you that have been with EOC for a couple of funding cycles, you know exactly what I mean. We didn't find out till September. And that was really, really rough. So yeah, see if furlough is an option. It's not something you want to have to talk about, but you do need to talk about it so it's not overwhelming to do it the last minute. Isn't that terrible, Teresa? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
Planning for one of these events where you're not going to be there and you're like, I don't want to plan because
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that so because I oversaw multiple projects, I could easily have manipulated, what was going on based on the program or what have you, increasing my percentage by a certain amount in another program. But because it's almost all of the programs, it
Yeah,
impacts the director who has multiple projects as well.
you're
And
right.
that's kind of why we started looking at, like, well, what are the other options? Because usually the director may be able to, there may be some carryover, there may be some other things that kind of help. But because we've been told to spend down the money, in a different way this time, you may not have those opportunities to leverage like you traditionally may have in the past.
You're absolutely right. This is the unique situation that it's not one program waiting for it. So I can kind of change my time and effort here and put you over here in the meantime till we live. But if I'm waiting for letters on all of them, I got some institutional funds I might have to dig into or indirect or something. think about some plan Bs. Hopefully, like I said, any day now, I'm hoping. Basically, EOC's message was to connect, with your representative's office and to gently nudge them as to what the deal is. And I'll upload that slide deck in case you're interested in that. And it gives you, who to contact and how to contact them. Okay. Any other questions, y'all? We've had a really good session. Wanted you to really think about that needs section, the need to start talking to people and getting, like as though you're a reporter, getting them to give you some really good quotes, and not quotes for either program to say how great your program is. It's nice to hear that. I mean, yeah, tell me that, but it's not about, how great we are. I'm asking you about what's going on right now. Act as though there's no program. So kind of, or let them talk and then you pull it out of their quote, because they can't help, a lot of them, especially they like you. Oh, you got your program's great. That's why we need, they always end it. That's why we need EOC. And that's why we need talent search. Great. I'll take it. But I'm really interested in that first part where they were talking about the problem. Talk to me about this problem. What have you seen? What do you think has caused it? Okay. I'm not really asking for them to tell me what do they think will fix it, but they automatically, if they like you, they'll throw you in and say, oh, that's why we need you. And that's fine. But you see where you want the first part. And I say that, Teresa, because a lot of times when we send folks out with these sample quotes, that's what I get. Even though we focused on the problem, why it's a problem, I've seen it's a problem, and it comes back, oh, EOC is so great, they've been able to fix the problem. And I'm like, this is great for an evaluation or to put on your website or your brochure, how great quotes, like on our website, people have gone through our materials and training, love that. But that's not what I need. I need you to talk about the problem. Act like we're not here to fix it. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're writing. It's a certain kind of writing, and you kind of have to maybe get people to go that way or let them talk, and then you edit the praises and the kudos out as long as you have enough of them talking about the problem. You need the problem. You're looking for academic and economic drama. Okay. You're one of those people that, in a way, they say, well, there's nothing, she never talks about anything good. Everything is always bad. Right now, you're wanting to dig up some stuff about the target area that shows, and the target schools that show they are doing worse than another area. Just keeping it real. Once, Teresa, somebody got mad at me because I said, I use the word bad and worse. I said, it's the truth. I can't help myself. You won't get funded if you can't show how the target schools are letting, lagging behind, or otherwise there's no need. So I need people to talk bad about what's going on, so to speak, or worse, or whatever you want to throw in there. But I wouldn't say that in a grant proposal, but you know what I mean. When I talk to you all, I'm keeping it real. I might clean it up for the readers in the proposal, but that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for praise coming back from the folks in the target area. You're wanting to speak about how bad it is in the target area still, okay? Or target schools. We're at 1 o'clock. I don't think we have any other questions. Teresa, thank you so much again. And also Leah and Donna and everyone out there, thanks for joining us. We'll have the recording on our YouTube channel with all our other recordings. And please check out the Talent Search and EOC courses, or you could get the on-demand recordings ready to go with no other, resources. But I really think you'll get the best, I guess, experience through the course. Thank you all so much. Thanks. Hey, y'all take care. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.